Hi guys, I am Chanchal Fode. In this lecture, we are going to discuss unit costing, job costing, and activity based costing. So let us start with the output costing first. So, output costing is also known as unit costing. Under this, we accumulate all the cost and then we analyze it under the different elements. Now, what are these different elements of the cost? Prime cost, cost of sales, या फिर cost of production, right? All these are different elements, and under these we try to analyze these costs. And also under unit costing we try to find out the cost per unit, right? So let us discuss that where is output costing used. Then we will be able to understand this point better, that how we can calculate the cost per unit under output costing. So output costing is used in those industries where the production is of a single product, the production is uniform and is on the continuous basis, right? So wherever the industry is producing a single product or a variety of that same product, their unit costing could be used. So let me make you understand that how is it possible to calculate the cost per unit. Let us take the example of brickworks. So here we are producing the number of bricks, right? So this number of the bricks, number is the cost unit. So this cost unit is similar for the whole brickwork industry, and hence the total cost could be divided by the number of bricks produced, and hence we can calculate the cost per unit. Similarly, if we talk about the steel mill, there we are producing steel in tons, right? So what we can do is the total tons of steel produced would be divided by the total. So the total cost of the steel produced will be divided by the tons of steel produced, and hence we will get the cost per ton, right? So here it is possible to calculate the per unit cost because the cost unit is same, right? Also, you need to remember, guys, that the different industries where unit costing is used is steel mills, brick works, paper mills, then cement mills, breweries, right? So these are some of the examples which you need to remember. Now next is that we need to ascertain the cost of the products, and then only we would be able to identify that what will be the selling price of that product, right? So in order to ascertain the cost of product under the unit costing, we use the periodical statement, that is a cost sheet. So cost sheet is prepared at regular intervals, right? And it consists of various elements as we have already discussed, like prime cost, factory cost, and so on. Also, this document is prepared in order to show the detailed cost of the cost unit, right? So this is cost sheet. The cost sheet is the crux of unit costing, or we can say that output costing is primarily focuses on the cost sheet. So let us have a look at the purpose of cost sheet, and then we will discuss the format. So the first here is written that it reveals the total cost and cost per unit. Yes, the cost sheet shows you the total cost and also the per unit cost, and then this total cost is divided into different elements, right? So there is a breakup of the total cost into different elements. Then it provides a comparative study. Since it is made at regular intervals, therefore you could easily compare the two cost sheets, right? And with that comparison you can get to know that whether your costs are increasing or decreasing, and in which specific area or in which specific element is the cost increasing or decreasing. For example, you can find out if the administration cost has increased from the past year or not, right? So the same goes for different elements. Then the last is it acts as a guide to the management in fixation of the selling price. Yes, because you are here calculating or ascertaining the total cost, and this total cost would in return help us to calculate the selling price. So what you would do, you would add the profit margin to the cost, and then you will be able to fix the selling price for the products, right? Now we will have a look at the format of the cost sheet, and you try to remember that format so that you can easily tackle the questions from the cost sheet in your examination. So first of all the direct expenses forms the prime cost: direct material consumed, direct wages, and direct expenses. Then you need to add the factory overheads to that, and you will get the factory cost. Then you need to add the administrative overheads, then you will get the cost of production. Then you need to add the finished goods stock and subtract closing stock of the finished goods, then you will get the cost of goods sold. And finally, after adding the selling and distribution overheads, you will get the cost of sales. And this cost of sales will help us in determining the selling price. Guys, you can see here that cost sheet is prepared for a particular period, and also here the cost per unit is calculated. Why? Because there is a single product and there is a similar cost unit being used, and hence it is possible to calculate the cost per unit, right? Now the next is the treatment of the scrap. So first of all, what is scrap, guys? So scrap, let us understand it through an example. Let us suppose there is a furniture shop, right? So there is the production going on for the tables, chairs, racks, and all that. So when you use the wood in order to make a bed, in order to make a chair, then there are some trimmings left, right? So in the process of that production or in the process of that manufacturing, there are some trimmings left. These are nothing but the scrap. And this scrap has some realizable value. So you can go in the market and you can sell these trimmings and you will get some value for it. So if you are getting some value, is it not important that that value should be reduced from your total cost, from your cost, right? Because otherwise you will not be showing the correct figures of the cost. Therefore, since they are arising in the manufacturing process, therefore we will reduce them. We will reduce them from the factory cost, right? So we will reduce the value of the net realizable value of the scrap from the factory cost, right? So I hope this is clear. So now we will have a look at the box in which there is information given about the scrap. So here, so what is scrap? As we have already discussed, it is nothing but an unavoidable residue material arising in certain type of manufacturing processes. Examples are trimmings, turnings, or boring from the metals or timber, right, on which the operations are performed. So such realizable value of the scrap is deducted from either the factory overheads or the factory cost while preparing a cost sheet, right? So you need to remember that how scrap is treated. Then next thing is, there are certain items which are not included in the cost sheet, and these items are of financial nature. Under cost sheet, we record all the cost and not the items which are of financial nature. These are recorded in the profit and loss and balance sheets, right? So it is recorded under the financial accounting. So these items are like interest paid, goodwill written off, transfer to reserves, donations, etc. So you need to remember that the items which are of financial natures are not included in the cost sheet, right? So it is very important to remember this. A question could be directly asked from this particular topic. Then the last is production account. So you can state the elements of the cost sheet in an account form. That is nothing but the production account. So what you can say is, whenever the cost sheet is presented in the form of the account or a ledger account, it is known as a production account. If you would see, there are similar items only. So here there is direct material, direct expenses, and it will give you prime cost. Then under you will add work overheads to the prime cost, and that will give you the cost of goods manufactured. So these are the same elements as they were under the cost sheet. It is just that the format has changed, right? So this is nothing but the production account. So that would be all which is important under the cost accounting. Now we will discuss the job costing. So let us discuss job costing. So first of all, guys, the industry is divided primarily into two types, that is job order industries and mass production industry. So let us take an example in order to understand job order industries first. So let us say that there is a printing press. So there is a printing press, and you went there and you asked the person there that, can you print 100 cards for me which have this design. So you specified the design which you want on that cards and you specified the quantity. So that person said, yes, I will do it for you. So here what the printing press is doing, the person there is producing the cards according to your order, according to your choice, according to your conditions which you have given, right? So wherever such customization is done, wherever the production work is done against the orders from the customer, that industry is known as job order industry. Whereas if we take the example of a paint industry, their paints are produced and it is produced in bulk, right? There is no choice or there is no order from the customer. They are producing it and they are keeping in stock and then they are further selling them, right? So such type of industry where there is mass production, where there is production of the uniform type of products, that industry is known as mass production industry. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the job order industries. So under job order industry, how is cost ascertained? Since we are talking about cost accounting, so our major purpose is to understand that how cost is determined under different industry. So under the job order industry, the method which we used in order to ascertain or determine the cost is known as job costing method, right? So let us have a look at job costing in detail and how that, and let us have a look at how does it work. So first of all, job costing or job order costing is a method of cost ascertainment used in the job order industries, as I have told you earlier. Now there are certain features of job costing. What are these features? That here the production is done against the customer order and not for the stocks. This we have discussed. Now each job has its own characteristic because every customer needs different thing and he will give you order according to his need. Therefore every job requires a special attention. Lastly, the flow of production from one department to another is not uniform because every order is different and hence the flow of production of every order is also different, right? So you can associate the job costing or job order industries with the customization. Now it is the process of the job costing. So first of all, whenever you will get an order, like the printing press got an order for 100 cards, that order would be assigned one number, right? That is a job number. So every order is assigned a unique number so that every cost can be easily associated with that particular order, right? Then a production order is prepared. Now after you have got an order, you need to start producing it, you need to start manufacturing it, right? So the production department makes this production order and this order authorizes that the work could be start on that particular job order, right? So here the copy of these production order are prepared and these copies are sent to every person who is concerned with that job. For example, all the departmental foremen, all the storekeepers, the total room for advanced notifications of the tool requirement, because for the production you would be requiring the material, you would be requiring the tools, and hence it is important to let them know about the production, right? So in this production order, we specify the quantity of the material which is required and also the machines which are required, the tools which are required are specified, right? Then finally, after the work has started, the cost must have been incurred. This cost is recorded under the job cost sheet. So the cost of material used, the cost of labor used, the machines used, the time taken will all be recorded under the job cost sheet. Here you need to remember that these job cost sheets are not prepared for a period. Rather, if you have got 4 job orders in an year, then you will prepare 4 separate job sheets for every job order, right? So in an year, if you have 4 orders, you will prepare 4 cost sheet and not just one for 1 year, right? So it is not prepared according to the period, rather according to the jobs. Now next question arises. In these job cost sheet, you need to record all the information about the cost of material, cost of labor. From where you will get these information? So in order to get the information of the direct material, you can have a look at the store ledger account. You can have a look at the material requisitions, and these will provide you information about the material and their cost, and then you can easily record that in the job cost sheet. Similarly, for direct wages, you can have a look at clock cards, job cards, time sheets, etc. For direct expenses, guys, direct expenses are those expenses which can be easily identified with the specific jobs, and hence these expenses are directly charged to these jobs. Now only overheads are left. So for overheads, what we do is we try to apportion these overheads to the cost center, right? Now these overheads are apportioned to the cost center on the basis of the percentage of direct wages or the direct material cost used, right? So as you all know, when we absorb or we apportion the total overheads, what we do, we divide the total overheads by a base unit. That base unit could be direct wages, direct labor, machine hours, and so on, right? So we are not getting into the details of the overheads right now. What we need to understand is that we charge or we allocate the overheads to the cost centers. Now whenever these jobs are completed, the total cost is transferred to the cost of sales account, and that cost of sales account would further help us to fix the selling prices. The next is batch costing. So where is batch costing used? So let us take an example. Suppose there is a shoe industry. In that there would be shoes prepared for different sizes, for 5 number, for 6 number shoe size, 7 number shoe size, and then again in this there would be different types of shoes, right? So here what we are doing is we are preparing definite number of articles, definite number of shoes, so that we can hold them in the stock, and then we can further sell them, right? So this is nothing but batch costing. Here what you do is you prepare a batch lot and you manufacture that batch, right? So if we need, let's say, 100 units or 100 shoes of size number 5, so this 100 would be one batch of the 5 shoe number, right? So under batch costing, we do limited repetition work, and there is a definite number of articles which are to be manufactured in each batch. So batch costing is used where? It can be used in shoe industry, in toys, in ready-made garments, in component parts of, say, cars, radios, watches, etc. Now the last topic is economic batch quantity. So what is this economic batch quantity? So as we have seen in example that we are producing 100 shoes in one batch. Now is this 100 shoes or a batch of 100 an economic batch? That means will it reduce our cost to the minimum? So if we want to know whether it is or not, we use economic batch quantity. So with this formula we can calculate that how much number of units should be produced in one batch so as to reduce the cost to the minimum. So the formula used in order to calculate the EBQ is under root 2US divided by C. Now what are these? U is the number of units which are to be produced in an year, S is the setup cost for the batch, and C is the carrying cost for unit of production, right? So this you need to remember. Now let us move on to the activity based costing. So guys, under traditional costing, what was used? Under traditional costing, broad averages were used in order to charge the overheads to the products, right? As we have taken the same example in the lecture, I'll give you that same example in order to make you understand that. So there is a shop which is producing both burgers and lemonade, and its electricity bill comes out to be 200 rupees. Now this electricity bill is an overhead because it cannot be easily identified with the different products. So burger were produced 100, so 100 burgers were produced and 100 lemonades were produced. Now in order to charge these overheads, the company divide the total amount of overheads by the total amount of units produced of the products. So rupees 1 is charged. So rupees 1 is charged per unit. So rupees 100 will be charged here and 100 will be charged here. But is it necessary that both burger and lemonade took same amount of electricity? No, right? It is possible that burger took more and lemonade took less. So here the cost which we have assigned to burger is much less. That is, it is understated. That means there is some undercosting of the burger. Whereas under lemonade we have done overcosting, right? So this process is known as cost smoothing, where we do the undercosting of some product which would automatically lead to overcosting of the other products because the amount of overheads is fixed, right? Now we will move on to further concepts in the activity based costing. Guys, if you have any doubt, you can post it in the live chat box, right? So where one product is undercosted, it leads to the other product being overcosted. This is known as product cost cross substitution. Now, in order to remove these limitations, in order to overcome these limitations of the traditional costing of charging the overheads, a new costing system was evolved, that is ABC, that is activity based costing. Now here what happens is the cost is not directly allocated or absorbed by the product, rather it is first assigned to the individual activities and then further these are assigned to the product or the cost object, right? You must remember that cost object could be a product, could be a service, could be a process, right? Now, how does this activity based costing work? We will understand that, but before that we need to get used to certain terms which are used under activity based costing. So first term is activity. Now what is this activity? For example, you are setting a machine, right? So setting a machine is an activity, guys. Setting a machine is an activity. Or if you are, let's say, giving after sales service, that is an activity, right? So this activity, the cost of this activity depends on certain drivers. So there are certain drivers which drives the cost of this activity. For example, if there would be more number of setups, the cost of setting a machinery would be more. So the cost of this activity would be more. So the items or these drivers which drives the cost of the activity are known as activity cost drivers. So it is a measure of frequency and intensity of the demand placed on the activities by the cost object. Then cost driver is a factor that causes a change in the cost of an activity, as we see that the number of the setups would lead to a change in the cost of the setting of a machine, right? So these are important terms which we need to remember and which will be used in order to understand that how activity based costing works. So guys, we have discussed that how job costing work, right? So there were 3 steps. Now similarly, there are certain steps under the activity based costing as well. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to identify some activities. Then we need to create a cost pool. Now what is this cost pool? So under cost pool, what we do is we group the individual cost item, right? So for every activity which you have identified, for that every activity a cost pool is created, and in that cost pool the individual cost items are grouped. Then we determine the cost drivers, right? I have told you, if you are setting up a machine, the number of setups would be a cost driver. If you are if your activity is after sales services, then your cost driver could be that how many calls did you take, how many queries did you answer, right? Then you need to calculate the activity cost driver rate. How is it calculated? Total cost of the activity divided by cost driver, right? Then what you need to do is you need to charge the cost of the activities to the product. So finally you have got the cost. Now you need to assign these costs to the cost objects, right? So here is the example. Now let us understand this process with the help of the example. So here you can see that there are three different products A, B and C. We are given the cost drivers, the activities. Now let us start with the process. So first of all, we need to identify the activities. So the activity is given here as machining and assembly. Then the next step is that we need to find out, or we need to identify the cost pools, right? Here as you can see, first of all, identification of the main activity and then creation of the cost pool. So now we will create the pools. So here setup, machining is the activity pool, then assembly and inspection are the activity pools, right? So we are given the cost of these activity pools as well. Now the next step is to identify the cost drivers, right? So for setup, we are given number of setup as a cost driver. For machining, we are given machine hours as a cost driver. For assembly, we are given direct labor hours as cost driver, and for inspection, we are given number of inspection as cost drivers. Now we need to find out the rate, right? Now we need to find out the activity cost driver rate. Now for that, what we need to do is we need to divide the total cost of the activity by the cost drivers. So the total cost is given here, that is 1,50,000, 7,50,000, 3,60,000 and 90,000. Now these are to be divided by the cost drivers, right? So we have the total cost drivers as 250, 6,000, 45,000 and 100, and these will help us in order to calculate the cost driver rate or activity cost driver rate. So let us have a look that how do we calculate this. So just give me a second in order to erase it. Till then you can post the doubt if you have any. So here are the activity cost driver rates. So first we have the total cost as 1,50,000 and we have the number of setups as 2,50,000. So what we need to divide is 1,50,000 by 2,50,000. We will get 600. Similarly, we can calculate for machining, for assembly, for inspection. Like for inspection, it is 90,000 divided by 100 inspection, right? So that will give us the activity cost driver rate or the inspection cost driver rate. Now we have find out the activity cost driver rate. Then the last step is what? To allocate them to the products, right? So last step is finally to charge the cost of the activities to the products, right? So we have three different products as I have told you, A, B and C. Now we need to charge this total cost. We need to charge these rates, that is 600 per setup, 125 per machine hours to the products. So for A, the number of setup is 125, right? As you can see here, it is 125 and the activity cost driver rate is 60. So for product A, what will be the cost we are going to charge? It will be 600 into 125, right? As we have seen that there are 125 number of setups. So 600 in 125 would give you 75,000. Similarly, you can calculate it for setup, for machine cost, for assembly cost and for inspection cost, right? So this was the process which I needed to explain. So that is important in order to understand the activity based costing. We don't need to get into the practical part of it because such lengthy practicals would not be asked in your examination. But what is important, that you must remember the process and you must understand that how are the costs are charged to the products. So the costs are not directly charged to the product, rather first we allocate them to the activities and then they are charged further, right? I hope you will remember these steps and I hope you are clear with all your doubts and your revision is going good. So have a good day. Bye bye. Take care.